What if you were to be naturally caring first towards yourself? Your hand is at the crown, your other hand's at the sacrum. The crown is dealing with the pineal gland, which has master control over the central nervous system. The other hand's at the sacrum. The sacrum has the largest number of receptor sites that are receiving programming and messaging from the brain of the central nervous system. So the sacrum has the largest amount of communication received for the central nervous system. So by you putting your one hand at the crown and one hand at the sacrum, you're helping to talk a new language and teach your body to learn a new language. So when you don't have to sit there and concentrate, but your lip focus extra hard when you run this. I mean, I've done this for hours when I've watched a movie, for example, at home. But you, at some point in the start, you want to have a consciousness that you're asking your body to kind of act like you're getting shaken and all the change is coming in your pockets, but you're not upside down. Or you can visualize it as you're like dropping sweat, like you're sweating out the toxins, where you can visualize like just droplets dripping off your body because you're letting go. It's a letting go process. It's teaching your body, instead of holding and instead of reacting back into the old reaction patterns, whether you get anxious or you get shy when you're going to express yourself, or any of the patterns that you're in here to clear. Just in the beginning of running this, have a consciousness that you tune in not only to this moment now with me, and have some visual that your mind, your imagination, your visualization, your intuition comes up with to indicate shedding, letting go, releasing. Does anybody want to volunteer with the visual that you create to help indicate to your system we're letting go here?
Sure, yeah. For me, I was getting this really strong, like, spiraling sensation that happened. It was like started in my mind and like spiraled all the way down into my roots. It felt like a tornado.
Yeah. So it's a clearing that's getting sent down through your column, your spinal column, which has all the chakras on it, and it's the central nervous system's communication.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes, really well done. The aspect that you all have been reflecting, a lot of you, not everyone, has been other people. I want to take some time on this idea of other people bugging you. Right now on planet Earth, it's not the time to be going in where you normally would go in, whether it's to help. It's going to sound radical at first, so please just let me complete what I'm saying, or it's to directly address the situation with conversation, because everybody, including the earth, is clearing. And many of you have heard me say this, but what that means is everybody's purging. At the same time, here you beautiful beings are in this program, and a great many of you are needing conversion of your third chakra, your upper belly solar plexus. Many of you have talked to me about having digestive disorders or anxious digestions or pre-IBS. And in fact, I was on if you're absorbing, your system gets attuned not only because of the skills and the power and who you've been in other lifetimes so that you're gifted, but also because of certain patterns that some of you have already heard me talk about in this lifetime, where perhaps you felt less wanted or overlooked or neglected a bit in this lifetime by your parents. And so you made up for that by walking into a room and using your natural empathicness and intuitiveness of the empathic equipment that we each have in our solar plexuses, identified the energy in the room, saw if it was low. Your choice was, let me make up for feeling like I don't have the right to be here because my root chakra is off because of the neglect, abandonment, or overlooking, whatever it was, and let me make this environment more positive. So let me suck up the negative energy. The pattern about sensitives and empaths isn't talked about. I haven't heard it from anybody else, and it's a great eye-opener because it's like a lie, a truth with a lie attached. It's beautiful to be compassionate. It's beautiful to be empathic. It's beautiful to be loving, kind, supportive. But there's also a line where first that has to start within. And what I find myself doing over and over again in these times is helping convert spiritual people, compassionate people, empathics, intuitives to being more attuned to their own systems, more attuned to their own power, and less attuned to the outside world. Because part of what's happening is that chakra's out of balance. I've had people come to me with this issue, and their third chakra looks kind of like this Venus flytrap, or like a distorted animal, like it's capturing stuff. It's so geared externally, and it's not balanced with an internal orientation that the power center looks distorted, as if it's shaped to filter outside only and grab distorted energies. I mean, it's really not pretty what you do to yourself when you do this. So there's this reattunement I'm finding myself doing, and I've been doing it for years now with the spiritual community, or the more kind, compassionate, geared folks, because where your challenge is, I'll never forget this on a free call too. One month a woman said to me, is it just that I need to toughen up? And I was like, in one way, yes, because she was feeling kind of bullied. And you'll notice that, and that was like in 2014. So this dynamic hasn't gone away. It's a rebalancing of the energetics, where to be soft is actually going to become, it's in the process right now of being the power. And to be greedy, dominant, overbearing, domineering, pushy, forceful, aggressive, tyrannical is on its way out. But in order to get into that balance, it's going through its own healing crisis. So now is not the time to be engaging in those old patterns anymore. Now is the time to even more step into center with yourself. So we're reorienting your heart chakra. Self-care and self-nurturance sits in the heart chakra. So if let's say you're frustrated, disappointed. We talked about this today, Sharon. Frustrated, disappointed, bitter, resentful, that spectrum. Then that closes down the heart chakra. So self-care, self-nurturance being aspects of the heart chakra that open it, self-care and self-nurturance is going to be harder to access. So it's an interesting pattern that we can get locked into until doing this kind of work within the chakra system like I do, so that you can open up the pattern and stop having it cycle itself. Because if you are frustrated or resentful or bitter because of what you're seeing from somebody else, that you can point to the outside world and say, look at Mike, and he's really upsetting me. He can't ever do what he's supposed to do. He's never in integrity. I always have to be the bigger person. And you point outside, and now you have bitterness. It could be ongoing, so there's more frustration bordering into resentment. That closes the heart chakra down. When the heart chakra is closed down, it's harder to access self-nurturance and self-care. Therefore, the self-compassion and the self-love is harder to access. So it cycles. So it keeps you in looking for the bitterness, looking for the things that cause the bitterness, looking at the world as if pointing outside of ourselves for the sources of negativity, because realistically our third chakra is so attuned, and we are so kind naturally that we overextend ourselves and step out into the fields of other people, grabbing the negative energy and cleaning it. So once you learn to come back into balance, you could do work like me or not. It's an aspect of really identifying with the beauty of your magical being, and that you have a spark of the Creator in you, and honoring that and valuing that more than you value somebody else outside of you, whether it's your kids or your partner or your boss or your best friend. Because that may sound to an ego mind interpreting it as selfish, but it's not. It's a healthier system, because when you give, you're able to give with less attachment. It's cleaner giving.